Welcome to the Made in Monroe podcast. Today I am thrilled to have EJ Maxwell with us. She is just a powerhouse, not only in the career space, but really in our community and giving back. And so EJ, I can't thank you enough for being here with us today.
Well, thank you, Colby. I'm enjoying it, and I thank you for inviting me here.
Absolutely. Well, as I was preparing for today and really just getting ready to sit down with you, I always like to go back and read somebody's story and kind of figure out how they got to where they are. And as I read your story, I thought, I can probably try to regurgitate pieces of this, but your story is so amazing. I want you to tell us how you started your career and then how you got to where you are today by launching your own company.
Yes. So, well, that's kind of a long story, but
that's okay. All I have is time.
I will cut it short.
Okay.
So I was born and raised right here in Monroe, in Booker T. I attended, it was Lincoln Elementary School at the time, and then I also went over to Carroll Junior High School, and I was one of the first groups of African-American students to be bused because of desegregation. So I was bused over to Lee Junior High School for my 8th grade year, and I also went to Neville in my 9th grade year, and I went back to Carroll in my 10th grade year. So I graduated from Carroll High School, and after graduation, I actually went over to Emily P. Robinson Business College for 2 years. Now, that wasn't the path that I wanted to go. I actually wanted to go to college. But because I had 2 children, I was a teen mom when I graduated from high school. And I was just told I couldn't go to college because I had children. And I said, well, that's a bummer. Well, what's that got to do with anything? I'm smart, you know. Why can't I go to college? So I ended up going to Robinson Business College, and I graduated from there in 1981. And right before I graduated, I did an internship, and Mr. Frank Wilcox at the Monroe Housing Authority gave me my first job. So I was a receptionist there for a little while, and there was this guy coming in all the time. You know, he had a lot of houses on Section 8, and I was just helping him with his paperwork and everything. And he says, well, Jenkins at the time, Jenkins, have you ever thought about coming over to State Farm? And I said, no, you got to know somebody to get in there. And I don't know anybody to get in there. He's like, oh, just come on, you'll do great. I was like, okay. So time went by, and he came back 2 weeks later. He says, well, we haven't seen you. I said, well, okay. But I'm going to tell you, the reason why I didn't go is because I didn't have any clothes to wear. I realized it's a professional building, and you need to be dressed a certain way and look a certain way, but I was not there yet. And so I kept putting it off. And so I ended up talking to someone. I had a girlfriend that did my hair, and I got a couple of suits and some dresses and shoes. And I said, well, let me just go over there now. Went over there, and the guy came out, and he says, we've been waiting on you for over a month. I didn't know that this individual had already talked to Mr. Wilcox and said, if she go over there, she takes the initiative to go over there, then I will hire her.
Wow.
And I said, and I didn't know it, but I wanted to do it, but I just didn't have the means at the time to do it. But I said, I don't care what I look like, I'm going. And they hired me. And so I started working at State Farm Insurance Company in Louisiana Bayou Fire at the time. And then in 1989, State Farm opened up another building office in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And I was one of the ones that was selected in 1989 to move to Tulsa, Oklahoma. So I packed up my family and everything, my husband and my children, and we moved to Tulsa. I stayed in Tulsa, Oklahoma for about 16 years. So I started at the bottom. I started with file clerk and moved up from a file clerk to a policy assistant 6, which is the highest you can go. And then I also moved on over to being an underwriter. So in Tulsa, I became an underwriter. I went back to school and got my bachelor's degree. And that's when I found out that when I was in high school at Carroll, I had a GPA of like a 3.325. Had no clue until I wanted my transcript. And I said, wait a minute, I had the grade and I had the attitude and the willpower. I could have went to college, but it wasn't in the cards. But it doesn't matter because at the end of the day, I still got a chance to go to college.
Absolutely.
Got my degree from Southern Nazarene in Bethany, Oklahoma.
I love that.
Bethany, Oklahoma, in organizational leadership. So I stayed at State Farm, spent 16 years in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Was assigned to work with agents in Oklahoma to, it was time State Farm was going from paper to electronic applications. And I was noticed by some people from corporate, and they said, "Hey, would you like to come to Bloomington?" I said, "Oh no, it's colder than that. It's so cold in Bloomington." I said, "It's cold here in Tulsa too, but it is really cold in Bloomington." So they talked me into it. I said, "Okay, I'll go for the interview. If I get it, fine. If not, I'm not going to even worry about it." So I came back and I was talking to my mentor, and he says, "Listen," "you can either continue to ride around in the parking lot looking for a parking space, keep riding, or you can just go to another store and go where there are parking spaces where you don't have to ride around looking. And I said, "Okay." He says, "So what I'm trying to say is, if you can't get what you need here, go somewhere else.
Yeah.
The opportunity may be even better there." And I said, "You know what? Okay." And my husband at the time, he said, "What you got to lose?" I said, "But it's cold."
But if that's the only thing.
That was the only thing, that was cold, But I got there and I said, "Lord, if this is where I'm supposed to be, then don't let me have to jump through hoops." I said, "If the manager that's coming in here to interview me, either he gonna like me or he won't like me." I said, "I'm just gonna let you handle that." And I've been used to just interviewing. I had all these interviewing papers and questions, how you do, get ready for an interview. And I was at the hotel there, and I said, "You know what?" I just took it and I just threw them in the air, and I said, "I'm not gonna read another piece of paper. I'm depending on you, God, to do this." And went into the interview. The guy we just hit it off, and I said, "Okay." And then I thought about it. Oh my goodness, that means I'm gonna be moving to Bloomington.
You're like that, because that was your answer. The door was flung wide open.
The door just flew wide open, So I came in as a business analyst, and I didn't know anything about the technical side of how things work behind the scenes. But I knew about the front end because I'm an end user, so I knew how that worked. But when I got there and they started teaching me about requirements and testing, I'm like, oh my goodness, all of this is in project management. And I loved it. And what I loved about it was that at State Farm, we were selling a promise. And people that have catastrophes, our job was to make sure that they get back to where they were. And every time I would go on storm duty and look at different things, my heart would just go out to the people. And I just worked even harder to make sure the systems was on point, my project, my teams, and everything. So I progressed along, and I ended up being a senior technology manager at State Farm. And I was in agency, and I was working all of the agents' high-profile projects. So I had all the agents in the United States, all the agents that was in Canada and their staff when we had Canada, and I did all of their projects for them. I had teams across the United States, had 5 teams in India and 1 in Jerusalem, and I loved every minute of it. So we were doing, they call it mobility at the time, but we were doing virtual. So in 2009 is when I actually started. So technically, I would dress up like this, I wasn't like that commercial. I did have some clothes on, but I had Old Navy sweats on, Old Navy pajamas on at the bottom. And I worked out at my kitchen table for years.
Amazing.
And I said, okay, well, this is great, And then I said, I need to do something differently. So in 2018, I decided to retire and come back to my hometown and make a difference. I noticed that we did not have enough African Americans in those IT jobs with the good high wage paying jobs. And I wanted to come back and work with people and work with students and young adults and even the nonviolent inmates on how to code and develop and to get those industry certifications so that they can have great jobs too, and it just was instilled in me to do that. That was my purpose. God was like, look, I was in Jerusalem on vacation, and I could hear the Holy Spirit talking to me plain. They said, didn't I tell you to go to Monroe? And I'm sitting there going, Monroe? I was like, oh, yeah. I said, but can I wait?
Kind of funny how he'll get our attention, right? And he doesn't care where you are when he does it.
Girl, I was in the Garden of Gethsemane. I'm just praying.
And that's the perfect place for it to happen.
And he said, that's good and all, but didn't I tell you to go to Monroe? I was
like, listen to me.
I said, okay. I'm headed.
I'm gonna do it.
I'm headed back to Monroe.
Yeah.
You know, so Representative Pat Moore was running a campaign at the time, and she called me and she said, "Hey, I'm gonna need you to come back home because I want you to help me." I said, "Help you do what?" She said, "Oh, by the way, not necessarily help. I just need to tell you that I put you down as my campaign manager." And I said, "I don't know anything about campaign management." She said, "You're a project manager. I'm a project manager is a project manager. You'll learn and you'll learn fast." And I said, "Okay." So she got me back, and I've been here ever since.
Wow.
So I'm loving it. I actually retired in Texas. All of my children, my grandkids, and everybody's in Texas. But he said, "Didn't I tell you to go home?" I was like, "I'm going."
Yeah.
So
you don't want to disobey him.
No. I said, I'm going. And so I actually went down to Baton Rouge with her because she was, a little lax in her technology savviness.
Right. Yeah.
So I told her, "I'm going to go with you and I'm going to help you." But while I was down there, I kept hearing all the conversations. Everybody's talking about the businesses and entrepreneurship. And I'm thinking, oh, that's what I can do. Yeah. So then at that time, I decided to open up my own company, which is EJ Maxwell Solution. Yeah. It's an IT consulting project management firm right here in Monroe. And Amazing. I said, okay, this is great. And then I got to looking around and says, okay, where's the workforce? Yeah. I said, oh my goodness, we have no IT workforce. Mm-hmm. So since we didn't have one, I decided to create one. So I started BDPA STEAM Academy, and the A stands for agriculture. And they were like, well, the A is supposed to be arts. I said, says who? I changed it. It's agriculture for us. I said, we're in Louisiana, we're an agriculture state, and it's going to be agriculture. Yes, we have the arts too. Yeah. I said, but it's going to be agriculture. So started the STEAM Academy, where we train high schoolers, 10th grade through 12th grade, and young adults, that 19 to 28-year-old group. Mm-hmm. And our next phase will be to train nonviolent inmates. Wow. And we're training them on, they can get certifications in cybersecurity, networking, data science, and infrastructure programming. Those are our core courses that we're training. At the moment, I'm at Carroll High School, which is my old alma mater school, and I just love it going back there. So on Mondays, we're there from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. And I tell them, look, we have to have full time with them. I need a good 3 hours with them to get them going. So every Monday we're there, and my young adults, they have class. Now they set this time. We didn't. We said, okay, what's going to be a good time for you? And we want to put it on them so that you made this time. That means you're going to be committed to it. Wednesdays from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. Sundays from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. And they shows up. Wow. And we're so excited about that. This year has been a phenomenal year for us. So 2024 was basically for us to just launch, get our students and get going. So what I didn't tell you was I opened up my business in 2020, and we created the school in 2020.
So which was no is not in your vocabulary.
No, it's not in
right?
my vocabulary. Yeah. Delayed. Not yet. Maybe. That's possible. Yeah. Or I like my favorite one. It depends.
Yeah. Yeah. My kids, whenever I say it depends, they come, Mom, does that mean no? I'm like, no, it does not mean no. It just means it depends.
It just depends, So we didn't know anything about COVID. So COVID hit. And so we're like, oh my goodness, what are we going to do? So my team and we decided that we're going to build our infrastructure. You got to have an infrastructure before you do anything. So we build a learning management platform. It hosts 10,000 users at any given point in time. We have instructors. I have instructors that I can come in contact with across the United States. And then I have instructors right here, and I have them all over the United States. So we're a hybrid solution. And we do in person, and we also do virtual. Now, the goal is that we train these individuals, and they stay right here in our town, in our community. We don't want them to go anywhere. And I'm instilling in them global. You can stay here. You don't have to leave. Yeah. We have everything we need right here in this town. So stay here. So we got to teach them first how to work remotely. Now, everybody can't work remotely.
Yeah, I agree.
But we still can teach you how to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can't work remotely, fine. We're going to have you some nice business virtual offices that you can lease and come on in and do your job and you go. And so that is what we are instilling in our students. And we're also teaching them things that, you know how it is, you get on a job and like, man, I wish I had known this and I wish I had known that. So we're teaching them everything that we wish we would have known prior going to the corporate world. Mm-hmm. So we're excited about that. So we had our students, they started in January of last year. And in July, we had a Bachelor of IT explosion. And I had 30 students sign up, 20 showed up every day for one full week from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. at Randy Williams Community Center. And the students was just so excited. So we have a piece that we call cognitive well-being. Mm-hmm. Now, I can teach you how to code, develop, and do these, technology jobs. Right. But if you don't have your mind together, you won't stay. Yeah, absolutely. And one thing that I have noticed, and I don't care where we are, it's all across the country, we have a huge identity problem. Mm-hmm. And me personally, I just don't feel like everyone quite understands what does that really mean. If I said I have a Christian identity problem, then everybody knows what that is. Absolutely. I'm like, no, Christian, it all works together. Yeah. Because if you don't know who you are and whose you are, then someone else will define you and tell you who you are, whose you are. Now, that could be positive or it can be negative. Yeah. Unfortunately, we see a lot on the negative side. Yeah. So we need to correct that by telling them, you're great, you're smart, think about you, learn to be true and authentic to yourself. Mm-hmm. Take care of you first, make sure you're healthy, make sure you have everything you need first. Now let's go give back. Mm-hmm. Because it's better to give than to receive. Yeah. Yeah. And also, I teach them about, we do little godly principles. Yeah. You must love yourself before you can love anyone else. If you don't love you, then it's going to be hard for you to do a job because everything is not going to work out for you. Right. So we're teaching them about that. So with the tech explosion in Bastrop, we train them in the mornings about, cognitive well-being. We focus on identity. And in the afternoon, they got a chance to work on that. And so those students, they were so excited. They did robots. They put robots together.
That's amazing.
And the other piece to that is that we're like, okay, since we're agriculture, we brought in drones. And we gave them all a little mini drone. It's like, this thing is so little. And I'm like, despite small beginnings. You got to start small. And if you do good with the small one, then we might consider recommending you to go buy that big one. I'm saying to myself that you're going to run into the tree with, Yeah. So the student, it was so exciting. They had never flown drones. They see it on TV. Oh, it can't be that hard. Oh, this one guy, he was so funny. I said, well, where are you going with it? I don't know. It just keep taking me. And then it flew on top of the school building.
Oh, my goodness.
I'm like, I'm not going up there and get it. And we had another young lady. She kept going around this big tree, the big old pine tree. I said, why do you keep going around the tree? I'm not. It's just taking me around the tree. So she had her drone and she kept going around the tree. And the look on their faces of doing something new and exciting, that's all I needed to see. Yeah.
Makes it worth it.
Their light bulbs came on, and we have some really good, talented people right here. Mm-hmm. Now, is it going to take work with them? Yes. Yeah. I call them a diamond in the rough. Yeah. You just have to smooth the edges a little bit, smooth the edges, and then we just get you ready. So we did that. We did the Bachelor Explosion. And then Mr. Rita Bennett, she says, hey, EJ, would you like to participate in the Louisiana Workforce Summer Program? I said, sure, would love to. Because I was like, Lord, where am I going to take these kids for the summer? I wanted them to stay together for the summer because I didn't want to get in any trouble. Right. I was like, you got to stay together. And she said, okay. And she gave them $120 a week. They showed up and showed out. They learned how to do block coding, Python. They even got their JavaScript certificate for JavaScript 1. And then when that was over with, we loaded up a male tourist bus and went all the way to Atlanta for a State Farm esports competition.
Oh my goodness.
And it was about...
How fun is that?
It was great. And I got to tell you about my parents. They're called the PE Village, the Parent Empowerment Village. We have to go back being a village. And I tell them, look, it's not just for your child. We're for all of the children.
Yeah.
And we have to all stick together. I had parents that went with me, had high schoolers that participated. One of the rules was that you had to create a game. So I was like, okay, we're going to create a game. So I told each one of them, I said, we're going to do, I said, I want each one of you to do a level on the game. Each one of them did a level on the game. And when we got to competition, the judges called me out and said, EJ, we have a problem. And I'm like, I know I read the rules. I know we did everything. You know, you had a little checklist in your head,
absolutely.
You know? And they said, you only supposed to bring one game, but you brought 6. I was like, no, it is one game. It just has 6 levels. I said, who plays a game and it doesn't have levels? And they looked at me and they said, you just changed the rules. I'm a game changer.
Yeah, I like it.
I am a game changer.
I like it.
And they won first place in the game development. Yeah. And they won 3rd place in the esports competition. You get to compete as an individual and you get to compete as a team. Okay. And our young ladies beat the socks. They beat the socks off of the other team. We lost in overtime.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. It was the Milwaukee team, the North Carolina team, the Atlanta team. They were in the finals. And we were like, okay. And the one guy, he was so upset. He grabbed his remote. He was like, and I was standing by. I said, you got it, girl. I said, keep doing what you're doing. Yeah. I said, keep doing. She was like, she didn't look at him. She didn't pay any attention to him. She was like MVP.
Oh my God, just in the zone.
In the zone. And these are my Carol students.
Wow.
Yeah. So we were so excited for them. So I have to tell you, so when we got there and they looked at, we stayed at the Westin downtown, Atlanta's Peachtree. And they walked in and it was like, wow. I said, yes, that's the response.
Reaction you wanted.
That's exactly what I wanted, that wow, you know. And they did great. They got a chance to meet some wonderful people. They got a chance to network with other BDPA chapters across the United States. It was just awesome. But we were just happy. We came back home with 3rd place and we were like, yes, we did this.
That's amazing.
So we were just so excited now. We're getting ready to go back to competition. And so this time we're saying this means war. So we're going in camouflage. We're gonna paint our we'll put a little football.
It seems fitting coming from Louisiana too, that you would go in camouflage.
Yeah, we're going in camouflage, it could be all different colors. Yes. Like this means war,
Wow.
And they're all excited. It's like, yes, we're gonna take care of it. But we're just so excited about the students. We have some students, our young adults, they have completed their IT Fundamentals CompTIA certification. Wow. And I have a group that's taken their test December 16th.
Right around the corner.
Right around the corner.
Yeah.
But they've been doing great. They've all been passing their pre-testing and everything. So we are expecting for all of them to be very successful in their courses. So yeah.
That is unreal.
That's who I am in a nutshell. And I love what I do. I love the students. I love to see their faces. And I am always up for a good fight. Because my big mama told me, don't fight nobody. Don't start nothing, but you better finish it. And if it's a good fight, you better fight a good fight. Yeah. And so I'm always up for a good fight.
Yeah. Well, I love just what a beautiful story, and kind of going back to that little girl who maybe thought she couldn't, to some degree, and you've come full circle, and you traveled, you moved, and you just advanced along the way, and you took every opportunity that came your way, and now to look at how you've come back to Monroe to plant yourself and to give opportunities to other people in our community. Yes. To me, that's just such a beautiful picture, first of all. And I think it's just the Lord's goodness in your life, too.
I tell you, one thing I have to tell you, too, is that Miss Emily P. Robinson, when I was in school, every week she would call me into her office, and I'm thinking, what did I do this time? I'm typing, I'm trying to anyway.
Right.
But she was coaching and mentoring me that I didn't even know it at the time.
Yeah.
And she was very straightforward, very blunt. And she says, Jenkins, because when you go sit, you have to sit up straight and you have to look her dead in the eyes. You can be very serious with her. She says, Jenkins, that skin tone and those eyes of yours is going to take you a long way in life.
Aww.
And I'm going to need you to know how to act when you get there.
Yeah.
And I said, yes, ma'am. I had no clue what she was talking about.
Yeah.
But as time went by, I was like, oh my God, this is what she was talking about.
Absolutely.
And every time I always moved to another level, and I could hear her talking to me. Yeah. All those classes, all those coaching, I call them coaching sessions, but I didn't know what they were back then. Just getting out of high school. I don't know anything about coaching and mentoring. Yeah. But it's great to have someone in your life that believes in you and that gives you that little that little nudge, that little push, to let you know you're doing good.
Right. And you can do
this and you can make it. And that is what I'm going to instill, and that is what we are instilling into our students every day. You can do this.
Well, it doesn't matter what comes your way. I think you stared adversity in the face and you said, get out of my way.
Get out of my way.
And you just climbed right on over it and you plowed forward.
Well, here's one of my sayings, like, I'm not fishing in that pond. And I turn around and walk the other way.
Yes, absolutely.
I am not fishing in that pond.
I don't have to today.
I don't have to fish in that pond. I'm like, not today. I'm gone. But I loved it. Married. My husband, I'm a widow now. He passed in 2014. He had cancer. But we had 5 lovely kids. I have 5 kids, 12 grandkids, and 3 great-grands.
My goodness.
I know. I said, y'all, what are y'all doing to me?
What a blessing.
Yeah. Like, okay. But I'm loving it. And they're all grown. My youngest one, she's 33. So we just had a Christmas party this past weekend, this past Saturday, over at Tower Place, and it was just a celebration with the students and with their parents and with their friends and with we had grandparents, we had aunties to come out just to celebrate all of our accomplishments. And I tell them all the time, take the time to celebrate. Yeah. Because if you keep going, you're like, well, what am I doing? What happened? No, we want to teach them to take the time to celebrate. Now you can't stay there long. Right. You got to celebrate and go back to work. Now it's time to go back to work. Yeah. So finding that balance, that's what we got to teach them about, balance. You got to balance faith, family, and community.
Yeah, that's FFC. And I think I'm still learning to try to find that work-life balance.
It's not easy.
It's not easy. I'm not sure it's fully attainable, but
it is. It's just you have to prioritize.
You do. You do. Absolutely.
What's
and different seasons, right?
And different
seasons.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So when you started EJ Maxx Solution, did you think it would become what it is today?
Yes,
you did. Okay.
I did. It took me.
That was a very confident yes. I like that.
Well, yeah, because I took the time.
Right.
See, as a project manager, everything's in the planning.
Right.
So if you plan, I spend 40% planning, and then after that 40% planning, execution is going to be great. The only thing that could happen in execution is something that you just really just didn't anticipate. Right. It's going to be just something blindsided. Big. You just totally blindsided. Yeah. But I took the time and I sit down and me and the Lord, we talked about the name EJ Maxx. And I was like, what do I like to do most? Shopping. Shop where? TJ Maxx. Yeah. So I said, oh, EJ, that's my name.
Yeah.
So we came up with that. And my logo is a dragonfly. And I love dragonflies because they represent change, and they can see they big eyes. They got 360 view, and then too how they are poised and how they fly. They fly front, back, side. They can move, but it's so pretty. And then they're just beautiful. Yeah, they're just beautiful creatures. I was like, I'm a dragonfly. I'm poised.
Yeah.
I can move with agility.
Yeah.
You know, I said, and been doing it all my life.
Right.
So, but yeah, I did believe EJ Maxx solution would be great, you know, and especially now that we got an IT workforce going along with it. So we're excited about that.
Yeah. Well, you literally could be anywhere in the world doing what you're doing. And you were you know, in other places of the world doing what you're doing. You've expounded on this a little bit, but why Monroe? Why did you choose to come back here, plant roots here, invest here? I have to believe it goes back to that little girl that was in this community that experienced some of the things that you did, and you wanted to come back and give back to what gave so much to you. Yes.
So I was raised by my great-grandmother and my grandmother. And one thing she would do to us every day, we lived on North 12th Street, J.S. Clark right there.
Yeah.
At 3 o'clock, we had to all come together. So it's myself, my siblings, and my first cousins was with us too. We had to sit on the porch, and she was in her rocking chair, and we had to watch the students walk past by us, and they had books and everything. She said, "You see them?" And we like, "Yes, ma'am." And she says, "Make sure you get everything you can right here, because nobody can take that away from you. Always study, always learn, always give back." And I told her, I said, like that man in the kitchen in there eating up all of our biscuits, our fried chicken and biscuits. So she would get up 5 o'clock in the morning, or maybe earlier, homemade biscuits, tea cakes, and she would fry chicken. But we couldn't eat it because she said, "No, that's for them." I was like, "Well, who was them?" Anybody that was hungry knew that they can go to Miss Vick's house. The back door was open, and they could come in there and get a meal. And she had our stuff sit to the side. And I was like, "Oh, okay." And I'm like, and she said, "Don't go in there. Somebody's back there." We're like, "Oh, okay." You know, but we learned about hospitality. We learned about loving God. We learned about giving back to the community and about caring. And Monroe has always been a part of my life, growing up, where I grew up and everything. But I also saw that there are a lot of people here. We have a lot of people that we can invest in. And I had a lot to offer by going away and coming back. And also, I can relate. I lived in Bree Circle. I lived in the projects. You know, I lived there for about 3 years. So when you tell me about Bree Circle and, you give me all your excuses, I'm like,
play me your little violin.
I'm like, "You want to hear my story?" They're like, "Oh, okay." I say right there, 5B. And so I have a young lady that's in my in the academy now. She literally lives in Bree Circle. And I took her home one day, and I was like, "You stay here?" She's like, "Yeah." And I said, "I stay right there."
Aww.
You know, and I brought my kids back, and I showed them where I live and everything. And they're like, "Oh, Mama, we didn't realize all of this." I was like, "Well, yeah." I said, and it's time for all of us to step back, realize who we are, and give back. Let's go back and get our people. Let's train them. Let's give them the education that they need and the opportunities that they need. You know, and also we do apprenticeships. You know, because if you get a certification, you're gonna need to work somewhere for at least a little while. You know, so now you got a resume. And you're going to be ready to be hired. So we're excited about that. And that's why I came back. I mean, I had to. Well, besides God told me I had to come back and do this.
Yeah, and you better listen.
I had to listen.
You had to listen. You didn't have an option.
I didn't have no options, you know. But I tell you what, I did have an option.
You did have an option.
Did have
it
an
wouldn't
option.
have been a very fun option.
But it wasn't going to be pretty.
No, it was not.
It wasn't going to be pretty at all.
You would have had to circle that mountain again.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I
don't like to circle mountains again.
Especially for 40 years.
Yeah, just do it the first time.
Yeah, let me go and have that 45-minute ride, you know, to get to Egypt. But I love the city. I love Washita Parish. I love our people. And not only do I love our people, so with our STEAM Academy, we're going to go all the way to Mississippi River because we love rural towns too. Because our rural towns need to come back. You know, and the best way to do that is let's band together because you're too small to stand on your own. It's all about collaboration. You come together, we do things all at one time. We have our little hubs, you know, and we train you. And guess what? Businesses will come. Who do we have here now? Meta. right?
Yeah. Crazy.
I know, right?
Wow.
And when I saw that, I said, yes.
And it's little old Monroe, right? We're just doing big things.
We're doing great things.
Yes.
But I knew that we would.
Yeah.
Because all we have to do is set our mind to it. And we sit down and have a good, wholesome conversation.
Yes.
We collaborate together. We work together.
Right.
And I tell my students, when we work together, we win.
Absolutely.
But when you work it, you win.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that.
Yeah.
Just offering hope to people left and right.
We got to.
I love it. Your story is just so full of hope. I feel like I could sit all day and talk to you. One of the things I want to ask you or talk about a little bit is you're planted here in this community. You are planted from the aspect of kind of giving back to your community, but also from having a business here. So what are the opportunities that you see going forward in workforce development and technology? What does the future look like?
Oh my God, it's huge. Everything that we do is dealing with technology.
Right.
You can't even drive a forklift without having some technology. Okay. When I was in Walmart in Dallas, and they have the little robots, cleaning the floors and everything, and I heard these ladies, they were like, "Oh, they just taking over. They're gonna take our jobs and stuff." And I looked at the lady, kept talking. I said, "Lord, I gotta say something."
You're like, I can't walk past. I can't walk past and say nothing.
I just could not. You know? So I said, "So let me ask you a question. Would you rather have the mop?"
Yes. Or
making $7.58 an hour. I said, "Or would you like to be where that guy is somewhere around here in some room doing this?" Making sure that it doesn't run into you or into the groceries or everything. And they're making maybe $20, $30 an hour. And she looked at me and I said, yes, it's called retooling.
Yeah.
We are moving into this generation and it is time. We have to get on board with it.
And people just don't understand.
No. They don't understand because, and I think a lot of it, the lack of knowledge is because we don't see it here. Right. But where I come from, where I've been the last 30-some years in the Midwest, it's booming. Right. And the East Coast, and different places, they're doing these things, and in Texas. But we have to make sure that our people are aware and understand this. Now, we do some things in our school system. They have a class here, a class there. But what I tell them, school system and any other people, we are not here for readiness. We are here for jobs. I talked to Mayor Friday and said, look, I believe we can produce minimum 5,000 people. We can get 5,000 jobs right here. Yeah. All we got to do is take the time, train them. And of course, we got to have funding. Yeah. To do some of these things.
Takes money to do things.
But what it says, money is the answer to all things. So we can do this. Yeah. But just having the people to be aware. Now that these companies are coming here, the buzz, well, what is it? Well, what are they going to do? I was like, I'm so glad you asked. Let me enlighten you. This is what that means. This means that we're going to have good, high-wage jobs right here, which is going to reduce our crime and violence. Because if people have their basic needs taken care of, you're going to have some, but the majority of them, if their basic needs are taken care of and they're making good money, guess what? They will change. They will change. Absolutely. So I see this being a phenomenal step for us in the right direction. And we're not just talking about Monroe or Louisiana. This is global. Right. This is global. Yeah. So we can stay right here and be global.
Absolutely. You don't have to go anywhere.
You don't have to
Let it come to us. Right.
Let it come to you. And it will.
It will.
It will, because hard work, good attitudes attracts others.
Absolutely.
And it will always do that.
Yeah. So just tell me, kind of fun fact, what's your favorite thing about Monroe?
I love to ride my bike. Okay. I like to ride my bike in my neighborhood. Yeah. I love doing that. And of course, I love the restaurants. But because in the Midwest, we didn't get the seafood and everything, And I'm like, okay, but now I'm like, I'm a little bit seafood out. I'm like, okay, I can't eat more seafood. Where's the Italian restaurant?
Yes.
Other places to go. So I love doing that. But most importantly, I just love being around the people. Yeah. I love being around the people, and I love seeing their faces. You know, sometimes I just people watch.
Yeah, it's fun.
Just sit back and just I used to do that a lot in the airports, so I travel
Yeah.
quite a bit with State Farm, and I love the people watch. But we have so much to offer in this city. I'm not talking about just North Monroe and South Monroe. I'm talking Monroe.
Right. Absolutely.
We have a lot to offer, and we have a lot of things we do. Now, do we have a lot of things we have to reconcile and take care of?
Right.
Well, yes.
Yeah.
But if we work together,
We can make it happen.
we can win.
Absolutely. Well, EJ, thank you so much for joining us today. Your story is it's a story filled with hope and inspiration. And I can't thank you enough for giving back and choosing to plant yourself here and give back to our community and make a difference right here.
Well, Colby, thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.